My fiancée, Clara, the woman I had been with for years, left me for another man and sent me away to live in the quiet solitude of the countryside. 3 years passed. Then one day she reappeared with him in tow, ready to bring me back. She looked at me, her expression a mix of impatience and disdain, and said, "It's been 3 years. Surely you've learned your lesson by now." She added, almost as an afterthought, "This is for your own good. If you don't learn to control that temper of yours, you can forget about ever marrying me." I suppose anyone watching would have expected me to break down, to tell her about the lonely days and painful nights of the last 3 years, to beg her to take me back. Instead, a calm smile found its way to my face. "I'm sorry, miss," I said, my voice steady, "but I'm already married." I had just finished a day of filming and was walking back toward the old Vance family estate when I saw them. A line of expensive, gleaming cars was parked along the road outside the gate, the kind I hadn't seen in this sleepy part of the country for a very long time. As I got closer to the house, I could hear the sound of voices and laughter drifting from the yard. "It's been 3 whole years! I wonder what's become of that Leo. He's probably just a simple country boy now, don't you think?" "A master of the house? Please, he was just an orphan Mr. Vance took in. He acted like he owned the place." "Exactly. He's not a Vance by blood. If it wasn't for their charity, he'd be begging on the streets." "Leo always had such a bad attitude. I bet these 3 years have finally taught him that he was wrong." Then, a deeper male voice cut through the chatter, silencing the mockery for a moment. I recognized it instantly. It was Nathan, her so-called dream guy. 3 years ago, after his own father passed away in an accident, Clara Vance brought him into her family's home, and I was the one sent away. I remember what she said to me then, her voice sharp with disappointment. "Nathan just lost his family, and you're still so cruel to him. He's always been nothing but kind to you. Don't you have any compassion? When you learn to behave, when you mature a little, I'll let you come home. Otherwise, you can just stay here." She had framed it as a kindness. "I'm doing this for your own good. If you don't change, you can't be my husband." What a noble reason. For my own good. That meant always taking Nathan's side, no matter the situation. It meant leaving me in the middle of nowhere, effectively forgetting I existed, even though she knew I was struggling, just barely holding on at the time. Hearing those words again now, it was almost laughable. "It's a good thing Nathan was so forgiving and didn't press charges," someone else chimed in. "If it were up to me, I would have made sure he spent a few years in jail." Nathan's voice was soft, feigning humility. "Leo is still technically part of the Vance family." "Nathan, don't feel bad. That fool got what he deserved," a woman's voice assured him. "What do you all think he'll do when he sees us?" "Isn't it obvious? He'll probably burst into tears, get on his knees, and beg Clara to take him back." Clara let out a cold, dismissive sound. "It's been 3 years. Even a stray dog would have learned its place by now. If he hasn't, he can stay here and rot." A chorus of laughter and agreement followed. "In that case, I kind of hope he hasn't learned his lesson. Then I'll never have to see his face again." "Yeah, just looking at his pathetic, desperate expression is nauseating." "But aren't you two still engaged?" a voice asked, a hint of confusion in it. Nathan's head turned toward Clara, his eyes filled with a hopeful light. "The engagement, that depends on his behavior," Clara replied. Nathan looked away, a flicker of disappointment crossing his face. It was at that moment that I couldn't hold it in any longer. I started to laugh. I didn't bother to stifle the sound. It carried on the light breeze, startling a few small turtles that were sunning themselves in the courtyard. The person standing closest to the gate turned, their eyes widening in surprise as they saw me. "Leo!" Her surprised call made everyone else turn in my direction. "That's really him?" "No way. I thought he'd be covered in dirt by now." I heard their whispers and saw the shock on their faces. They had pictured me as a broken man, worn down by 3 years of rural exile. But that wasn't who stood before them. I was wearing a new, dark-colored technical jacket and stylish sneakers that were from the latest Seasons collection. Around my neck was a professional-grade camera that was clearly expensive, and I was casually holding a cup of coffee. There wasn't a single trace of the country boy they had imagined. Clara's gaze settled on me, a hint of surprise in her eyes as well. "Leo," she said, her tone cool and distant, nothing like the warm way she always spoke to Nathan. I remembered a time when that difference in tone would have hurt me, would have made me argue with her. Not anymore. "Miss Vance," I greeted her politely, taking a slow sip of my coffee. Clara's brow furrowed at my formal address. "It's only been 3 years, and you're already acting like we're strangers? I'm your fiancé. Is that how you speak to me? It seems 3 years wasn't enough time for you to learn anything. If you keep this up, I'll call off the engagement for real." I looked at her, my expression unreadable. What could possibly make her think I still had any feelings for her after all this time? I was 10 years old when I became an orphan. It was Grandpa Vance who took me in, who brought me to this house and announced, right then and there, that I would one day marry his granddaughter, Clara. From that day forward, I believed she was my future. I let myself fall for her, drawn in by the kindness she showed me in those early years. And when my love for her was at its peak, she told me she loved me too, that she wanted to be my wife. That all changed the day Nathan arrived. I watched as the attention and care that had once been mine were slowly given to him. I saw how she defended him, no matter what he did. I argued with her. I gave her the silent treatment. I even started fights with Nathan just to get a reaction. But every single time, it ended with her scolding me, her anger directed solely at me. Then, one day, Nathan's expensive watch went missing. Clara came straight to me, demanding to know where it was. It's true I didn't like him, but I wasn't a thief. I was especially not a thief at that moment. My cat, the one I had raised for 8 years, was in the animal hospital, close to death. That cat had been a birthday gift from Clara, a symbol of our love, she'd said. I had rented a small apartment near the hospital to be close to it, and hadn't even been back to the Vance estate for days. I told her the truth, but somehow the missing watch was found tucked away in an old jacket of mine that I hadn't worn in years. Clara slapped me. Hard. Then, she took the beautiful jade bracelet my parents had chosen long ago as a wedding gift for my future wife, and she smashed it on the floor. Staring at the shattered pieces, something inside me broke too. I flew at Nathan in a blind rage. In the ensuing chaos, he fell down a flight of stairs. After that, Clara sent me away. And my cat. It didn't make it through that summer. My silence seemed to make Clara even more impatient. Just as she was about to say something else, I calmly raised my left hand, showing her the simple, elegant ring on my finger. "I'm sorry, Miss Vance," I said again, "but I'm already married." The moment she heard my words, Clara's frown deepened. Nathan immediately stepped forward, putting a comforting arm around her shoulders and looking at me as if I were a misbehaving younger brother. "Leo, you shouldn't lie like that," he said with a small chuckle. "Clara told me she cut off all your financial support. How have you been getting by? You're still young. You shouldn't let some woman with bad intentions take advantage of you." As he spoke, Clara's eyes finally dropped to my clothes, and her expression turned icy. She was clearly remembering that she had, in fact, left me with no money. To them, without the Vance family's support, I had no right to be dressed so well. Their friends were all looking at me with sneering, judgmental eyes. "Leo, did you find yourself a wealthy older woman to support you?" one of them asked mockingly. "Out here in the country? Did some lonely widow from the village take you in?" Clara's face immediately darkened, her eyes flashing with anger as she glared at me. "Leo, have you no self-respect? If you want to throw away your own dignity, that's your business, but don't you dare drag the Vance family name through the mud with you." From her tone, it was obvious she believed I had sold myself to some rich woman. But Clara, after all the years we knew each other, even if you stopped loving me, didn't you know me better than that? In your eyes, am I really the kind of person who would sell myself for money? I let my gaze sweep over the entire group, my voice turning cold and sharp. I should be the one asking if any of you have any dignity left, showing up here to cause a scene in my front yard. I'm not like any of you. Even without anyone's help, even without the Vance family, I, Leo, can live my life just fine. Clara clearly didn't expect me to talk back to her. She looked stunned for a second, then let out a scornful laugh. "Oh, really? You, without the Vance family?" "Leo, don't be absurd. I know what this is. You're just trying to get my attention." I couldn't help but laugh back at her, a laugh born of pure disbelief. Does she not understand plain English? Get your attention? You really think you're that important? And with that, I threw the rest of the coffee from my cup directly at her. She wasn't expecting it, and the dark liquid splashed across her perfectly made-up face. "Ah, Clara!" Nathan cried, rushing to pull her into his arms. But she shoved him away forcefully, wiped the coffee from her face, and raised her hand to slap me. I took a quick step back, a sneer on my face. "What? Is the Vance princess going to resort to hitting people again?" Her hand froze in the air. She took a deep, steadying breath. "Leo, you're really something else now, aren't you? Fine. You can stay out here for the rest of your life." With that, she turned and stormed away. The main actress had left the stage, and all the supporting characters who had come to watch the drama quickly followed her. Nathan was the last one to go. As he walked past me, he leaned in and whispered, "Leo, thank you. If it weren't for you, Clara would never have realized how good I am to her." I didn't bother to reply. The things you're so proud of are just the things I threw away. If you enjoy picking up my scraps, be my guest. After they were all gone, I picked up the bag of groceries I had set down and walked to the house directly across the street from the old Vance estate. Inside, a woman was in the middle of a video call. When she saw me walk in, she quickly muted her microphone and ran into my arms, a bright smile on her face. "You took so long, I'm starving." I smiled and held her close. "I've been working hard all day, and you didn't think to make me a nice meal as a reward?" The woman wrinkled her nose playfully. "But I don't know how to cook. How about some instant ramen instead?" I turned her around to face me and gently pinched her nose. "You little liar! When have you ever cooked a meal in this house?" "I heard some noise outside earlier," she said, her expression turning more serious. "What was going on?" Thinking about what had just transpired, my mood darkened slightly. Clara was here. She said she came to take me back. I taught her a lesson instead. Hearing this, her eyebrows furrowed. "That Clara, it's good you put her in her place. Someone needs to teach her some manners." I raised an eyebrow, studying her reaction. "That's all?" She just smiled, her fingers beginning to trace light circles on my chest. "I know all about your history with her. Of course, I get a little jealous sometimes. But you're here with me now, and that's all that matters." As she spoke, her lips brushed against mine. Her kiss was soft and gentle, slowly melting away my frustration and pulling me deeper into her warmth. The next time I saw Clara was about a month later at my best friend Daniel's engagement party. He had driven all the way out to the countryside just to give me the invitation personally. I couldn't refuse, so I agreed to go. It wasn't a surprise to see Clara and Nathan there. The moment Daniel saw them, he protectively pulled me behind him, like a hen guarding a chick, and sent his fiancée Sophia to intercept them. Sophia was also one of Clara's friends, so it made sense. Daniel then dragged me away to a quiet corner. "Leo, man, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot they would be here." I just smiled and shook my head. After so many years living with the Vances, our social circles were bound to overlap. It was perfectly normal for them to be at the same event. "It's fine. I stopped caring about all that a long time ago," I reassured him. "Besides, I'm married now." Daniel froze, his eyes widening in complete shock. "You're married? Since when? And why am I just hearing about this now?" "About 6 months ago." He stared at me for a long moment, and then a huge grin spread across his face. "That's my guy. I knew it. Someone like you is never going to give up on life just because of one bad apple like Clara. That's how it should be. A woman like her is not worth it." He playfully punched my chest, and I knew he was genuinely happy for me. Back when Nathan first came into the picture, Daniel had warned me repeatedly, but I was too stubborn to listen. I was determined to see that situation through to its bitter end. Now, I had finally let it go. After we shared a laugh, he gave me a mock-serious look. "So, why didn't you bring your wife so I could meet her? Don't tell me you don't consider me a real friend." "She's away on a business trip," I said with an apologetic smile. "She won't be back until late tonight. I'll bring her to meet you next time. We'll take you both out to dinner." Daniel nodded, satisfied with that answer. Then, suddenly, he grabbed my arm and pulled me toward the center of the crowded room. He picked up a microphone, getting everyone's attention. With a wide, cheerful smile, he announced, "Everyone, I have another wonderful announcement to make today." He pulled me up to stand beside him and introduced me. "This is my best friend Leo, and you'll never guess what. He's married. Let's all give him a huge round of applause." As his words echoed through the hall, the room fell silent. Most of the guests were from our shared social circle, and many of them knew that Clara Vance's fiancé was a man named Leo. But no one had heard anything about Clara getting married. Daniel, ever the troublemaker, looked around at the silent crowd and joked, "What's wrong? My best friend gets married and none of you are happy for him." People quickly snapped out of their stupor and began to laugh and applaud. "Of course we're happy. That's wonderful news. Congratulations. We wish you a lifetime of happiness and a baby soon." Amid all the well wishes from the crowd, I just nodded with a faint, polite smile. It was then that Nathan walked up to me. He was holding a glass of wine and looking at me with an expression of deep concern. "Leo, you've been living out in the countryside for the last few years. Now you're suddenly married? Are you sure you haven't been taken advantage of by someone? I know you're still upset that Clara sent you away, but she really did it for your own good. You're still young. You shouldn't let your emotions get the better of you. Marriage is a serious commitment. You need to be careful." "Nathan, don't you think you're overstepping?" I cut him off, unable to listen to any more of his fake concern. I truly couldn't stand him. He so clearly disliked me, yet he always put on this act of being the caring older brother figure. He was the same way back at the Vance house. Over time, his act had successfully painted me as the family's black sheep, the one nobody liked, while he became the perfect, considerate gentleman in everyone's eyes. I had seen through his performance long ago, and now it was just tiresome. Being interrupted so bluntly seemed to catch Nathan off guard, and his face darkened. Just then, right on cue, Clara walked over. She stared at me for a long time before she finally spoke. "Leo, that's enough." After the party, I was standing by the road waiting for my ride when Clara's car pulled up in front of me. Her expression was like ice. "Get in." I shook my head. "No, thank you. My wife is coming to pick me up." She let out a sneer. "Leo, how long are you going to keep this act up? You can try to fool other people, but everyone in this city knows you've been hopelessly in love with me for years. You would do anything for me. A man like you. Who would ever want to marry you? Get in the car, and I'll pretend you didn't sneak back into the city without my permission." Her tone was harsh, and when I didn't move, a look of disgust washed over her face. "Don't tell me you actually found someone to pay your bills. Who on earth would have such terrible taste?" I managed a faint smile at that. "Miss Vance, have you ever been a kept woman? If not, what makes you so sure that's my situation? Only people with dirty minds assume everyone else is as dirty as they are. Clara looked like she had just tasted something sour. She glared at me, her voice tight with anger. Leo, what in the world has happened to you? Looking at her righteous indignation, someone might have actually thought her heart was broken. But the truth was, I hadn't changed at all. I was always a rebellious kid. My own mother used to scold me for it all the time. Even after I moved in with the Vances, my personality didn't change. I remember the first time I talked back to someone in that house, Clara was standing right there, laughing. She told me, "A real man needs to have a backbone. That's what makes him attractive." But then Nathan arrived, and suddenly my backbone was immaturity, my confidence a lack of stability. So I started to hide my true self, to tone down who I was. But I wasn't going to change for her anymore. Nathan had been sitting silently in the passenger seat the whole time, listening to our exchange. When he saw the look on Clara's face, a barely perceptible smile touched his lips. He turned to me and said gently, "Leo, how can you speak to Clara that way? She's only worried about you." "Shut up," I said, rolling my eyes at him. "No one asked you to speak. Your silence won't be mistaken for an inability to talk. This is between me and Clara. What does it have to do with you?" Nathan was left speechless, a look of clear embarrassment on his face. Just then, a bright pink sports car pulled up smoothly behind Clara's. Without giving either of them another glance, I walked over and got in. Over the powerful roar of the engine as we pulled away, I could just make out the sound of Clara shouting angrily behind us. That night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, it turned out to be Maya, Clara's best friend. "Leo, what are you doing?" she asked. I turned down the music playing in the background. "Putting the baby to bed." There was a short pause on the other end of the line, then a confused question. "Putting a baby to bed? Like a real human baby?" I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "What other kind of baby would it be?" Maya's voice rose in disbelief. "Don't play games with me. Clara was never pregnant, so how could you possibly have a child?" I replied calmly, "It's not like Clara is the only woman on the planet who can have a child with me." Maya's voice went up another octave. "No way. So you really did get married? And you have a kid?" I asked her in return, "Why? Am I not allowed to get married and have a family?" "It's just, I thought you and Clara were engaged this whole time, and you were always so obsessed with her. How could you just suddenly be married? You're making this up, right?" I laughed. "Why did everyone think I was lying? Marriage isn't something to joke about. I would never use it as a prank." "It's real," I said after a moment. "When we have the wedding ceremony, I'll make sure you get an invitation." As soon as I said that, I heard a burst of commotion in the background on her end, and then the call disconnected. I didn't think much of it. Clara's so-called friends, most of them, had always thought I wasn't good enough for her, even when we were happy together. After Nathan arrived, their disdain for me only intensified. I had lost count of how many times I'd overheard them speaking ill of me. A minute later, my phone rang again. It was Clara. I knew it would be. The second I answered, before I could even say a word, she started yelling. "Leo, you tell me right now that child isn't yours!" I couldn't help but chuckle. "Are you being serious right now?" Clara's voice grew even louder, practically a shriek. "Leo, I'm warning you. Say that child is not yours." She was screaming so loudly that even without the speakerphone on, I was sure anyone in the room with me could hear her. I pulled the phone slightly away from my ear and said coldly, "If that's the only reason you called, then I'm hanging up." "Did you not hear what I said? Where the hell are you right now?" After knowing Clara for so many years, I was used to all of her moods. Her yelling didn't bother me in the slightest. She continued to rage on the other end of the line. Suddenly, the phone was gently taken from my hand from behind. Then, I heard Isabel's soft voice. "Leo is about to go to sleep with me now. If you have something to say, you can say it another time." Without waiting for a reply, she ended the call. I turned my head and was met by a pair of sparkling, mischievous eyes. She jumped into my arms, rubbing her face affectionately against my neck. She still smelled of the fresh, peach-scented shower gel she used. "You'd better work harder," she whispered, "or you won't have any babies to put to bed next time." I cupped her bottom and laughed. I was just making that up. Isabel kissed me lightly on the lips and murmured, "It won't be made up for long." 3 days later, I returned to the Vance family home. Isabel and I went together to visit Grandpa Vance. He was the one who had brought me into this family so many years ago, and he had always treated me like his own grandson. Unfortunately, his health had been getting worse over the last few years, and he spent most of his time overseas receiving medical treatment. He had returned home this time to celebrate his 80th birthday. I had heard he would be leaving again right after the party. After we had spent some time with Grandpa Vance, Isabel received a call and stepped out into the back garden to take it. I waited for her in a quiet corner of the large living room. "I didn't think you'd ever come back." I turned at the sound of the voice. Clara had somehow walked up right behind me. Her beautiful face was cold and severe as she stared at me. I ignored her expression and smiled. "Of course, I came back. It's Grandpa's birthday. I also brought my wife to meet him." Clara looked at me with icy contempt. "What is it now? Have you come up with some new way to annoy me? Did you spend the last 3 years in the countryside just plotting ways to make me angry? Let me be very clear. Stop dreaming. I will never marry you. I'm going to tell Grandpa right now that we are canceling our engagement." She glanced around as if looking for someone. "What? You didn't bring that illegitimate child some old woman gave you? You honestly make me sick. Get out of the Vance house right now." Just as she finished speaking, a soft, almost lazy voice drifted over from the garden entrance. "My, the eldest daughter of the Vance family certainly has a high opinion of herself. I had no idea this entire estate was under your personal command." Clara's body went rigid. She turned stiffly towards the source of the voice. "Aunt." Isabel walked gracefully over to me, took my hand in hers, and looked directly at her niece. "I don't think I'd dare let you call me aunt, especially after you just tried to throw your uncle out of the house." Clara's face went completely white. Her eyes darted down to our intertwined hands, and when she spoke again, her voice was unsteady, almost a stammer. You said he's my uncle?" "Leo, and you?" Isabel gave her a cool, dismissive glance, her tone becoming sharper. "He is your uncle, and is that how you speak to him, calling him by his first name like that?" Clara's face turned a deathly shade of pale, but she recovered her composure surprisingly quickly. In fact, for the rest of the family dinner, her expression was perfectly calm, as if our earlier confrontation had never happened. After the banquet was over, Isabel went to get the car while I waited for her by the front gate. As I stood there, Clara suddenly appeared and pulled me into a quiet, shadowed corner of the driveway. Her gaze was like ice, her voice laced with a bitter, suppressed anger. "Leo, you did this on purpose, didn't you? You and my aunt. You're putting on this act just to get back at me, aren't you?" I looked at her, my expression calm. "You're overthinking things. If this was just an act, I would never have brought her here. After all, back when Clara's parents had divorced, things between the two sides of the family had become incredibly hostile. If it weren't for me, Isabel never would have willingly set foot in this house again. More importantly, Grandpa Vance had always been genuinely kind to me. No matter what, I would never lie to him about something so important. Clara knew all of this. She was just too furious at that moment to think clearly. She let out a cold, humorless laugh. "So, this is your revenge, is it? You're getting back at me for choosing Nathan, for leaving you in the countryside. Leo, I told you, if you had just behaved yourself, you would have become my husband." "What on earth are you doing now?" I asked, seeing the redness in her eyes. I was suddenly reminded of the day Nathan first came to the Vance household. Clara had promised me then that 10,000 Nathans could never compare to me. She said I would always be the one she loved most. But then, she started defending him, scolding me, and eventually she even hit me. To this day, I can still hear the sharp, sickening crack of that jade bracelet shattering on the floor, a sound that mirrored my own heart breaking into pieces. I looked away from her, my gaze settling on the brightly colored flowers blooming in a nearby garden bed. Clara, the moment you chose to stand in front of Nathan to protect him, that was the moment you should have known it was over between us. I'm not the kind of person who can just forgive and forget something like that. We're like that broken bracelet. Once shattered, we can never be whole again. Now I'm married to Isabel and you have Nathan. We should both just move on with our lives. A flicker of some unreadable emotion crossed Clara's face. She was quiet for a moment before she finally said, "Leo, are you really this cruel? I do have feelings for you, I really do. I felt sorry for Nathan. He lost both of his parents." Her voice trembled as if she was struggling to hold back tears. At that, I let out a bitter laugh. "So, Nathan is to be pitied because he lost his parents? What about me? I lost both of my parents when I was 5. The grandfather who raised me died when I was 10. Wasn't I pitiful too? How could you be so biased? If you truly cared about me, how could you leave me alone in the countryside for 3 whole years without a single visit or phone call?" I looked her directly in the eye and asked quietly, "Clara, do you even remember why I came to live with the Vance family in the first place?" Her body stiffened, and her face went pale. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but no words came out. I didn't wait for a response. I just rolled up my sleeve and showed her the faint, white scar on my arm. "You probably don't know this, but after you sent me away, I fell into a deep depression. I tried to end my life several times. There were so many moments when I was sure I wouldn't make it, but somehow I survived. And then I met someone who truly loves me." Just then, the bright headlights of a car swept across the driveway. It was Isabel. "She's here," I said. "I have to go." Clara lowered her head, saying nothing. I pulled my arm from her grasp and walked away. It wasn't until the car was a good distance down the road that I received a text message from her. It read, "Leo, you once told me you would only ever marry me in this life." Yes, I had said that. Back when I loved Clara more than anything in the world. Back when I truly believed she was the only one I would ever marry, and that she would only ever love me. I had made that promise with all my heart, but now I had broken it. Because you were the one who turned away first, Clara. I didn't reply to her message. I just tossed my phone onto the back seat. Isabel glanced over at me. "Was that Clara?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah." "She's been acting ridiculous for years," Isabel said, her voice calm. "She's always acted like the whole world should revolve around her. She'll figure it out eventually." I turned to her with a small smile. "What, you're not even a little bit jealous?" This was the same woman who had once made me throw out every single item I had brought with me from the Vance estate, not wanting any reminders of my past life. Isabel didn't say anything at first. She just pulled the car over into a quiet, secluded spot by the side of the road. Then she turned to me, bit my lower lip gently, and said in that sharp, sultry voice of hers, "What can I do? I fell in love with you. And if I love you, I have to accept all the baggage that comes with you. Besides," she added, "I'm your wife now. I'm not letting you go anywhere." I smiled and kissed her back. She would never lose me, and I would never lose her. After that day, I didn't see Clara for a while. Daniel invited me out to play basketball, and while we were resting, he couldn't help but talk about her. "Clara has lost her mind, man. Something is seriously wrong with her. Sophia told me that on the night of our engagement party, she went to some bar and completely trashed the place for no reason. Anyone who didn't know the story would have thought she was secretly in love with me." He laughed at his own joke. Then his expression turned more serious. "I haven't seen her around lately, though. A few days ago, Nathan was even asking Sophia if she'd heard from Clara. I wonder where she went. I just shrugged, casually bouncing the basketball. Who knows? That night, I was ambushed in front of my own house. Clara was standing in my path, and the strong smell of alcohol hung around her. "Leo, I had a nightmare last night," she slurred, her words indistinct. "I dreamed you got married, and you married my aunt. Tell me it's not true, please." She stumbled toward me. "You said you would marry me. You said you would only ever love me. You wouldn't marry someone else." I stared at her silently and pulled out my phone to call Isabel. Before the call could even connect, she lunged forward, snatched the phone from my hand, and slammed it onto the pavement. Her eyes were bloodshot. "Leo, say it! Say you only love me! Say you'll only ever marry me! Say it! Say that you and Isabel are just lying to everyone. Say it's all fake, okay?" She slowly sank to her knees in front of me, her voice trembling and desperate, as if she were begging for her life. I had never seen this side of Clara before. It was almost as if she really did love me. In the past, if she had been this upset, I would have immediately pulled her into my arms and comforted her. But now, everything was different. I looked down at her, my voice devoid of emotion. "Clara, if you want to play the part of the heartbroken lover, go find Nathan. I don't need this." Her head was bowed, and I couldn't see her face. It was a long time before she spoke again, her voice quiet and hoarse. "Leo, I know I was wrong. I went to the countryside these past few days. I visited all the places you lived during those 3 years. I even found and spoke to your old therapist. I know how much I hurt you. But if you can give me one more chance, I want to make it right. I'll go anywhere with you, somewhere nobody knows us, just the two of us. I'll be the woman who loves you more than anyone else in the world. Please, Brother Leo." Hearing her call me that name made my heart give a small, involuntary jolt. Ever since Nathan had arrived, she had stopped calling me that. It had just been Leo, spoken with a cool distance. Now, hearing it again, it brought me no joy at all. "No," I said simply. "What we had is over. It's like that jade bracelet. It shattered a long time ago." With that, I stepped around her to leave. She grabbed my hand, not saying a word, but I could feel it trembling. I ignored her. My attention was focused on the person walking toward us from the house. A slow smile spread across my face. Isabel approached, her expression like stone. The first thing she did was forcefully pull Clara's hand off my arm. Then, she hauled Clara up from the ground and slapped her hard across the face. "Clara, I'm letting this go for now because you are my niece. But don't let me see you again. And stop harassing my husband. Next time I won't be so polite." She wiped her hand as if cleaning it of something dirty, then came over, took my hand, and led me toward our house. Behind us, Clara collapsed onto the ground like a doll whose strings had been cut, not moving at all. After that night, she never came looking for me again. The next time I saw her was at a professional symposium. She looked much thinner, and Nathan was by her side. I gave them a polite, distant nod and went to find my seat without a word. As I was leaving the venue later, I could feel her eyes on me the entire time. During the intermission, Nathan sought me out. "Leo, since you're already married to Clara's aunt, can you please just stay away from her? Stop looking for excuses to be near her, all right? Do you have any idea what she's been through these last few weeks? She almost died because of you." I looked up and met his gaze. It was the same self-righteous, insufferable attitude he always had. I replied coldly, "Nathan, whatever she chooses to do has nothing to do with me. Besides, I was invited to this event by the organizers. I don't have the kind of influence to just show up uninvited." This symposium was hosted by a government agency. Only people who had made significant contributions in their respective fields were invited. Unless Nathan was a complete idiot, he should have realized I wasn't there by coincidence. His expression faltered as the implication sank in. He hesitated, clearly wanting to say more, but I wasn't Clara. I had no patience for his act. I added sharply, And by the way, I am Clara's uncle by marriage. Since you're her friend, that technically makes me your elder. Did no one ever teach you how to speak respectfully to your elders?" His face went stiff. He wasn't stupid. He was just used to looking down on me, so used to it that he spoke without thinking. He bit his lip and hesitated, but he couldn't bring himself to call me uncle. When he saw me smiling slightly at his discomfort, his expression turned venomous. "Leo, what are you so proud of? You wouldn't be anything without Isabel. You think that makes you special? You only married her for her family's money. Don't think I don't know it." I didn't answer him. Instead, I looked past his shoulder. "Clara, perfect timing. Come and get your friend." Nathan flinched and spun around to find Clara standing right behind him, her face dark with anger. Flustered, he opened his mouth to try and explain, but before he could say a word, Clara grabbed his arm and dragged him forcefully toward the exit. As I watched them go, I felt a small pang of regret that he wouldn't be there to see me being invited onto the stage as one of the event's distinguished guest speakers. It meant he still didn't understand the most important thing. I never needed anyone else's support. I was my own. In the second half of the symposium, the organizers invited me to the stage to deliver a speech. The moment I stood up, I felt a pair of eyes fixed intently on me. The gaze followed me all the way to the podium. I didn't look for its source. I simply began my speech. "Hello, everyone. My name is Leo." When I finished my last sentence, the hall erupted in thunderous applause. I smiled faintly and looked out over the audience. By chance, my eyes met Clara's. There was a new expression in her gaze, something I had never seen from her before. It looked like awe, and maybe even admiration. I acted as if I hadn't seen her and turned my head away. When the event finally ended, she pushed her way through the departing crowd to stand in front of me. She looked at me for a long time before she finally spoke. "Leo, I never expected you to become someone like this." I looked back at her. "I actually owe it all to you," I said truthfully. 3 years ago, I was sent away, completely alone. During that first year, I fell into a deep depression. I even tried to take my own life. The last time I was hospitalized, I shared a room with a woman who loved to film everything. She told me she wanted to record all the beauty in the world so that her life wouldn't feel like a waste. Something about that changed me. I started filming things too, trying to capture anything beautiful I could find. Through my camera, I started discovering the richness of traditional culture and the beauty of forgotten crafts. I saw people who were fighting, just like me, to not be forgotten, to stay alive in a world that was moving on without them. That's how I started incorporating these elements of cultural heritage into my videos. At first, I just wanted to preserve them, because once something is truly forgotten, it's gone forever. But to my surprise, the videos gained an audience. I became a moderately successful content creator. A year after that, I met Isabel. She had fallen ill and had come to the countryside to recover. At the time, I was still living in the old Vance estate, filming small moments of daily life. One day, during a heavy snowstorm, she just appeared in front of my camera. She saw me filming her, but didn't shy away. Instead, she smiled. She said, "You must be that video creator. I'm Isabel. I've wanted to meet you for a while now." After that, we traveled the country together, exploring traditional arts and heritage. During a documentary we were filming about handcrafted phoenix coronets, I proposed to her. Thinking back on it, I smiled. Clara saw my smile, and for a moment her own expression softened with a look that was both nostalgic and sad. I had no idea what she was thinking, and frankly, I didn't care to know. I adjusted my coat and prepared to leave. As I moved to walk past her, she suddenly held out her hand. Instinctively, I took a small step back. Then I saw what she was holding. It was a jade bracelet, one that looked almost identical to the one my parents had left for me. "I searched everywhere for this," she said, a hint of desperate hope in her voice. "Doesn't it look just like yours?" But my attention wasn't on the bracelet. It was on the thin white scar on her wrist, a scar that looked very much like mine. She noticed my gaze and let out a bitter smile. I guess. There's at least one thing we still have in common. I looked up from her wrist to her eyes. Then I sighed. Clara, you know the truth. What we had ended 3 years ago. Everything you're doing now, it just feels like a burden to me. So please, stop appearing in my life. With every word I spoke, more color drained from her face. When I finished, I didn't look at her again. I just walked past her without a second's hesitation. Behind me, I heard the sharp sound of jade hitting the hard floor, followed by the muffled sound of someone trying to choke back a sob. From that day forward, I truly never saw Clara again. Even when I went back to the Vance residence to visit Grandpa, she was never there. Not even Nathan was around anymore. I found out later that Clara had made him move out of the Vance house and had cut off all contact with him. He had apparently been trying to find her ever since, even showing up at my door a few times. But each time he did, someone would appear within minutes and forcibly remove him. I asked Isabel if she was responsible, but she said no. I thought that was how life would be from then on. But I never expected to hear about Clara again in the way that I did. Her friend, Maya, called me, her voice shaking with anger. She said that for the past 6 months, Clara had been drinking heavily and was rarely ever sober. 2 nights ago, she had woken up in the middle of the night, insisting that she had to find me. That same night, she was in a serious car accident. She survived, but her leg was badly injured. The doctors said she might never walk normally again. We tried to stop her, Maya said, her voice hoarse from crying. But we couldn't. She was crying, saying that tomorrow was your birthday, and that she'd already missed the last 3. She said she couldn't miss this one, too. She cried so hard, it broke our hearts. If we had known, we never would have let her go on like that. She did all of this because of you. Isabel was curled up in my arms as I listened. When she heard the anger in Maya's voice, she looked up at me. I gently pinched her cheek, and without saying a word, ended the call. She tilted her head and kissed my chin, whispering softly, "This isn't your fault." I knew she was right, but the whole situation still felt deeply absurd. When she had me, she didn't know how to cherish me. Now that I was gone, what was the point of all this? Affection that arrives too late is worth less than dust. I had always understood that, so I never went to see her. About half a month later, late one night, I received a text message. It was from Clara. It simply said, "Leo, I'm sorry." I didn't reply. Our story was already over.